An intense debate between Utah Senator Mike Lee and challenger Evan Mcmullen.
Senator Lee has been doing this thing with his pocket constitution for the last several years. Senator Lee, it is not a prop.
You distort the truth, and you should be ashamed.
In a high-profile race for Senate, where both candidates stand on the vital issues facing Utah voters.
All of the teachers want to do what's right.
But what is the right thing for Utah students? And who decides what is taught inside the classroom? From banned books to the content of curriculum, a revealing new audit of education in our Utah public schools.
A sex offender's conviction is reversed. What a court of appeals says the state did not do right.
He should have spent separate times in jail for his two separate offenses.
Why some argue this decision is unacceptable.
A crowded spot in Utah County and a bad day for dozens of visitors.
That's kind of where we draw the line.
The costly lesson about safety and following the law in the great outdoors.
Live from Utah's news leader, Fox 13 News at 9 starts right now.
There was a lot riding on tonight's debate between Utah incumbent Republican Senator Mike Lee and his unaffiliated challenger Evan Mcmullen.
It was the only time the two would face each other on the debate stage. Fox 13 News political reporter Ben Winslow was there for the often fiery contest between the two.
At times, it was quite a raucous debate with both candidates going after each other.
Senator Lee refuses to do that, and those are his broken politics.
To suggest that I'm beholden to either party, that I've been a bootlicker for either party is folly.
In an often tense debate, the candidates for U.S. Senate disagreed on a lot. Incumbent Republican Senator Mike Lee and unaffiliated challenger Evan Mcmullen clashed over numerous issues, including the 2020 election.
Senator Lee, it is a betrayal of the American Republic. You were there to stand up for our Constitution, but when the barbarians were at the gate, you were happy to let them in.
There is absolutely nothing to the idea that I would have ever supported, ever did support a fake electors plot. Nothing. There's not a scintilla of evidence suggesting that, and yet you continue to insist that with a cavalier, reckless disregard for the truth. This is sad. This is troubling. It's also entirely consistent with your adopted political party.
At times, it got heated, like this exchange when Mcmullen went after Lee over January 6th.
I followed it, I studied it, and I defended it to a T.
We'll have 30 seconds here in a moment.
For you to suggest otherwise looks right in the face of truth and in the face of the Constitution. How dare you, sir?
Mr. Mcmullen, you have 30 seconds.
Look, Senator Lee has been doing this thing with his pocket constitution for the last several years. Senator Lee, it is not a prop. It is not a prop.
Please.
Senator Lee, the Constitution is not a prop for you to wave about and then when it's convenient for your pursuit of power to abandon without a thought.
But they did find a few areas of agreement, like this exchange over Social Security.
I will not balance our budget on the backs of seniors.
Senator Lee.
I agree. We have to honor the promises made to America's seniors who paid into these programs for decades.
Polls show this is a close race with many voters still undecided. The candidates say they're working to earn every vote.
I'm going to continue to focus on issues.
The power of our message of unity and truth.
Now, we have posted the full debate for you to see at fox13now.com. At Utah Valley University, Ben Winslow, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Right after the debate, we put up an informal poll at fox13now.com asking the question, did the Lee-McMullen debate help with your election day vote? Here is where that poll stands right now. 30% of those who've taken part so far say tonight's debate helped them form an opinion on a candidate. 64% said they already knew who they'll be voting for, and 5% said they are still undecided. If you'd like to take part in this poll, you can find it at fox13now.com. We'll have an update on the results at about 9:45, so stay tuned for that.
Are Utah public school teachers effectively trained to be neutral and unbiased in the classroom? Is there leadership and direction in place to monitor how curriculum is being taught?
That's what the State Legislative Auditing Subcommittee wanted to find out. Fox 13 News reporter Emily Tenser is live on Utah's Capitol Hill tonight with what that revealed. Emily.
Bob Kelly, auditors interviewed over 150 parents, teachers, and school leaders. They reviewed over 500 complaints, and they surveyed 10,000 educators to find out how social issues are taught and who decides it. This 68-page report basically says it's just not clear.
In a time where books are being pulled from school libraries and teachers are placed on leave for inappropriate conversations with students.
And they come visit me almost every day after school, and a lot of them are queer because I am queer, and they figured it out.
The debate on what's okay to read and what's okay to teach is something everyone seems to have an opinion on.
Our teachers are so overburdened. If we add one more annual training to their plate, it's just too much. But we can put processes in place.
A 68-page audit found that school districts vary in how they manage curriculum, and that allows a range of content to be taught in schools.
All of the teachers want to do what's right. We interviewed so many teachers who said, I am afraid I don't know what I can and can't say, so I just don't say anything.
Researchers found potentially questionable content from a sample of course materials, including one school district's training about Pioneer Day, saying the state holiday normalizes settlers' privilege and celebrates white supremacy. Another concern, a middle school English class had a writing prompt asking students to weigh in on contraceptives for teenagers.
But of greater concern for us was the lack of structures in place that could have helped mitigate this or vetted the material ahead of time.
Auditors recommend legislators consider deciding at what level the curriculum establishment process should be uniform from district to district.
They create an expectation for each district, each charter to have a process for how that curriculum is chosen.
The state superintendent says materials are best selected at the local level, and despite a few stories of concern identified in the audit, there were no conclusions of widespread issues.
We want to keep code in its lane. So with library materials, we want to keep that in its lane. And with some of these other processes, we think local boards should be the locus of control.
The audit shouts out the Davis School District, saying it has clear policies and procedures in place on how to approve materials. If you want to read more about what they discovered, you can find a link to the audit at fox13now.com. Reporting live and from the State Capitol building, Emily Tenser, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Well, we are learning more now about why a concert at USANA Amphitheater was cut short Saturday night, leaving thousands of heavy metal music fans pretty upset. Music website Loudwire reports that the Five Finger Death Punch and Megadeth concert ended early after an alleged drunk driver crashed into a transformer, knocking out power for that part of West Valley. The guitarist for Five Finger Death Punch tweeted about it over the weekend, saying, quote, "One more reason not to drink and drive. You screwed up 20,000 people's day." Police have not yet confirmed to Fox 13 News whether or not a drunk driver was to blame for this power outage.
Salt Lake police say Nicholas Parks, the 38-year-old man shot last week at the Wasatch Inn in the Ballpark neighborhood, has died. Officers have arrested two suspects, including 60-year-old Joseph Marquez, suspected of pulling the trigger. Investigators believe Parks and Marquez knew each other and were arguing over a cigarette when Marquez shot him last Tuesday.
Now, with fewer than 40 days until Thanksgiving, the avian flu continues to spread in Utah. The Department of Agriculture and Food confirmed 5 cases among turkeys on Sanpete County farms, as well as a case in a backyard flock in Cache County. Avian flu is highly contagious, and a confirmed case means all other birds on that farm must be killed or quarantined. So far this fall, state officials say the disease has impacted 16 turkey farms and 2 backyard flocks.
The public comment period on the idea of a gondola in Little Cottonwood Canyon ends tonight. UDOT is recommending a gondola to alleviate heavy traffic to Snowbird and Alta resorts, but they'd phase it in with public transit options. UDOT tells Fox 13 News it has received roughly 10,000 comments so far on this controversial topic. There is no breakdown on for or against at this point. If you want to comment, you've got until 11:59 tonight. We have a link at fox13now.com.
Another really pretty day outside to start the new work week. Utah Weather Authority Breck Bolton here now with more. Breck.
Yeah, we keep it going. This streak of wonderful warm weather here for the fall and the first part of October. Not disappointing at all. I want to share a photo coming in as we've been highlighting over the past several days these fall colors. This is not Little Cottonwood Canyon. This is Big Cottonwood Canyon where, yeah, the leaves are still brilliant. Ground dry. You know, it's not unusual in October that we can see a little white dusting in those mountains. And we're going to be talking about that possibility as we're looking ahead. But another day where we found afternoon highs above average. Many locations in the 70s. The official high in Salt Lake City, 75 degrees. We made up in the low 60s in Bryce Canyon, 80s in St. George. Currently, we stand in the 50s and 60s here along the Wasatch Front. We're not concerned with those canyon winds or downslope winds, wind conditions here across northern Utah, Wasatch Front. It's calm and will remain calm. That's been a different story over the past couple of mornings, but no wind advisories in place. We've got clear conditions here throughout the state. High pressure still in effect where we don't see any storms for now. So overnight, with clear conditions and clear skies, we'll be looking at overnight lows getting down into the upper 40s. But as I mentioned, we do have a storm, a cold front, and for some of us, snow in the forecast. We'll talk about it coming up.
This is a game changer for millions of Americans. We get moving.
Are you eligible to get student debt forgiveness? The federal government's application launched today. What you need to know if you want to opt in.
When you first got here yesterday, you almost literally wouldn't have been able to stand with your arms widespread like this without touching cars on both sides of the road.
A popular spot for recreation most times of the year, but there's some parking concerns that go along with people visiting Diamond Fork Canyon.
I have nothing negative to say about Chief Ross. He's a very good man, and I respect his decision.
And after less than a year on the job, Provo's police chief is out. We'll introduce you to the man temporarily taking his place.
In national news, almost 10 million people signed up for federal student loan forgiveness over the weekend.
Those people filled out a beta application for forgiveness. Now, the White House says many of them will not need to supply any information beyond their name and social security number.
More than 40 million Americans can stand to benefit from this relief. Let me be clear. Not a dime will go to those in the top 5% of the income bracket, period.
Despite the remarks from the White House, student loan forgiveness is far from a sure thing. The program faces at least 5 major lawsuits. Now, if any of them leads to an injunction, it would delay debt forgiveness until a verdict is reached.
For the first time, hearing aids can now be bought over the counter without a prescription, exam, or fitting. In July, President Biden signed an executive order meant to promote competition, encouraging the U.S. Food and Drug Administration to allow hearing aids to be sold over the counter. The FDA announced the rule change in August, and beginning today, Americans with mild to moderate hearing loss can buy assistive hearing devices in stores and online.
Hearing health is part of overall wellness, just as is your blood pressure, cholesterol, your weight, everything else, to staying fit.
The White House says this change could save people as much as $3,000 a year and improve their overall health.
Well, today, the White House described Russia's attacks on Ukraine as, quote, an escalation of war. Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre condemned Russia's use of kamikaze drones in Kyiv. The unmanned drones, which blow up when they reach their target, have bombarded the Ukrainian capital all day.
The Russians try to destroy critical infrastructure of our hometown. Before the winter, they want to switch off the electricity and make an attack to our power plants, stations.
4 people were killed in today's strikes. Now, Ukraine's leaders said the damage could have been much worse, but the country's air defense system was able to shoot 85% of the Russian drones out of the sky.
A House Oversight Committee says the Trump Organization overcharged the Secret Service for staying at Trump-branded hotels. In some cases, Secret Service agents paid 5 or 6 times the posted government rate for a room. The House panel found the Secret Service was charged more than $1.4 million in taxpayer money during Mr. Trump's time in the White House. In a statement today, Eric Trump, an executive with the Trump Organization, denied the allegations.
Well, Joe Biden has spent more than a quarter of his presidency in his home state of Delaware. That's according to one historian who said President Biden has spent more than 230 days away from the White House. And while it may sound high, that number is about average for recent presidents. Biden has taken more vacation time so far than Trump or Obama, but less than George W. Bush or George H.W. Bush.
Well, we see Mr. Biden out on the beach in Delaware. It was a beautiful day to do anything outside here in Utah, too.
Oh, definitely was. Yeah, we just continue this nice weather without any storms, no precipitation, but it's all going to end. We kind of have I don't want to say a light at the end of the tunnel, but there is an end of this tunnel of warm weather where we've got some changes on the way. But before we start, let's share another photo coming up on our Facebook page. This is down in southeastern Utah, San Juan County, Ken's Lake. Beautiful sunset, somewhat lacking deciduous trees, so we don't get the fall colors as much, but still plenty of colors coming off those red rocks where I could say that we're setting the sun on these temperatures. Big changes in the forecast. But today, not a different story. We've got those warm afternoon highs. We reached a high of 75 degrees in Salt Lake City, 10 degrees above average. Off the record set back, as you can see, in 1958 in the low 80s, where currently we stand in the upper 50s and even low 60s here along the Wasatch Front. So mild evening. We're not concerned, as mentioned, with those canyon winds or those downslope winds as we've been experiencing over the past couple of mornings. Now, so far for the month of October, at least in Salt Lake City, our average high temperature, so I've taken all the high temperatures of each and every day, we averaged it out to 77.1 degrees. Where we typically are at for the whole month of October is in the mid-60s. Now, record for warmest average high temperature set back in 1988 at 74.3 degrees. So still on track. This could be a record-breaking October, but we still have several more days. And we're going to be cooling things down, which might throw those numbers off just a bit. But we still have a few days, as the trend will be high pressure in place, afternoon highs above average. We hold on to the sunshine. Now we'll see a few clouds across portions of central and southern Utah, especially Wednesday and Thursday. We don't see any rain from those clouds, but then we start picking up the winds towards the end of the week in preparation of our next cold front. And this cold front has a punch. It's going to be coming directly from the northwest, so it's got the cold air and it also has the moisture. But that's not the case right now. It's dry. We've got clear conditions, as we'll keep it dry and clear for tomorrow, as afternoon highs under that high pressure that's moved closer towards the state, where we keep these afternoon highs well above average, about where we've been so far. Now, let me show you the changes that are on our doorstep as we look towards the end of the week, where, as I mentioned, under this ridge of high pressure, some upper level clouds kind of leak under. So as we head into Wednesday and Thursday, we're going to be looking at partly cloudy skies, but you're seeing no activity from radar. No greens, which would be rain, blues, which would be snow. Well, let me show you what's going to be pushing through. A cold front, again, coming directly from the northwest. It sweeps in on Saturday, late in the afternoon, where initially it pushes in some rain showers here, first across northern Utah, then spreading across southern Utah as we head into Sunday. You'll notice, though, some colder air behind. There's some blue. That is snow. We'll be seeing snow up the mountains for sure. Snow levels dropping Sunday morning. Right now, models indicating we're right above the benches, but we could potentially see some snow and snowflakes flying extreme northern Utah, like up in Cache Valley. But these things or conditions could change where snow levels, we could vary it up. And who knows, by the end of the week, maybe the models show that we could see snow in the valleys. It's not unlikely that we see that here in October. It's just we've been under this pattern where we just are just not used to it, maybe not looking forward to it. But as we look for tomorrow, we get to savor this nice weather here as we look for the next few days. So we'll keep temperatures here across the northern Utah in the 70s, central Utah, mid and upper 70s, and 80s in St. George, where we've got a string of 80s, and then that front hits. So be prepared for the winds as we transition from Friday into Saturday. We see the rain in St. George. Instead of seeing 80s, we go from 70s and then down into the 60s. Northern Utah, where are we going here? Well, not much change here for the next few days. We start to see the winds Friday and Saturday. Initially starting off with rain. We're in the 70s on Saturday, and then it's 50s on Sunday. Again, keeping the snow up in the mountains, but we'll update you with that. But big changes on the way. We're finally bringing some storms.
Wow, that is a change, Breck. It's been a while since you've talked about snow. Sounds like it's coming.
It's a four-letter word.
Straight ahead, what's now being built at the site of the Bear River Massacre, where about 250 Shoshone Indians were killed in 1863.
And have you ever wanted to own a train car? Well, now is your chance. We'll take you inside the Utah Transit Authority's old Comet Frontrunner trains. Now.
We're just 2 days away from the start of the Utah Jazz season. We'll hear from Malik Beasley as he gets ready to play his old team on Wednesday.
The Northwestern Band of Shoshone Indians kicked off a restoration project today at the Bear River Massacre site. A cultural interpretive center is being built. The goal is to help people see the background of the land and bring awareness to what happened at the massacre site. In 1863, U.S. troops attacked a Shoshone camp there, killing about 250 of them.
This is a sacred site for us. This was our traditional wintering grounds. And to have that healing, to have the community be so supportive, you know, the state of Utah, the state of Idaho, the federal government, you know, the Department of Agriculture and Department of Interior have all rallied around us, and the community here has.
Well, the project was given almost $950,000 to build the center and plant trees.
UTA is auctioning off 25 of their 50-year-old Comet rail cars. They have frequent mechanical and reliability issues, and parts are no longer available. UTA has not decided whether they'll replace them, but have monitored ridership levels before the auction to make sure services would not be impacted. The money from the cars will go toward more funding.
This is going to give us the opportunity to apply for federal grants so that we can turn around and use federal grants and private funding to buy future front-runner cars.
Bidding will end on November 1st. Winning bids must remove the rail cars within 90 days.
A sex offender's conviction is reversed after the Utah Court of Appeals say the state failed to notify him they charged him for 2 years. What the Salt Lake County DA and his opponent in the upcoming November election have to say about the decision.
We even have signs that do people the favor of showing a diagram of a tow truck with a car hooked on the back of it.
A busy place this time of year, but a lot of people aren't paying attention to some things that ended up costing them some money. We'll explain.
The Utah football team on a much-needed bye week after that emotional win over USC. We'll hear from the team after today's practice.
Thanks for being with us tonight, everyone. Listen to this. The Utah Court of Appeals has reversed a sex offender's conviction because prosecutors failed to notify him for 2 years that he had been charged.
In a split ruling, the appellate judges say the man's Sixth Amendment right to a speedy trial was violated. Fox 13 News reporter Chris Arnold has more.
Bethany Crisp is the outreach coordinator for the Utah Coalition Against Sexual Assault.
We just help, create that statewide collaboration.
In her line of work, she says victims often have a difficult and traumatic time when reporting crimes against them.
The Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network show that more than 2 out of every 3 sexual assaults go unreported.
This 74-page document from the Utah Court of Appeals was filed Friday, showing that Chad Hinsey, a registered sex offender since 2011, had a charge dismissed after he says his Sixth Amendment rights to a speedy trial were violated. According to the documents, Hinsey was on a park bench near the Jordan River Trail with a teenage family friend back in June of 2016 when he was approached by officers. Hinsey was not allowed to be in the park because he was a registered sex offender and was charged with 1 count of violation by a sex offender of a protected area. According to the opinion authored by Judge Ryan Harris with the Utah Court of Appeals, the state failed to prosecute the case or even notify Hinsey of the charge for over 2 years. During that time, Hinsey was charged with forcible sexual abuse in a separate and unrelated case in March of 2017 and sentenced to a prison term of 0 to 5 years.
He should have spent separate times in jail for his 2 separate offenses.
It's something Danielle Ahn, a candidate for Salt Lake County District Attorney, says is unacceptable.
What it is it's an injustice to the defendant, it's an injustice to the community, and to the victim.
I sat down with Salt Lake County District Attorney Sim Gill earlier this afternoon, and he tells me that 2016 case involving Hinsey was filed back in 2018 within the 2-year statute of limitation for misdemeanors.
When this case was filed,
He had apparently been gone to prison. So we filed the charges. We asked for a warrant.
Gill says Hinsey was not served that warrant until the Board of Pardons was reviewing his case when he was serving time in jail in Kane County. As for the Utah Court of Appeals decision, Gill says another issue brought up pertaining to that 2016 case was the underlying issue of the initial police contact, and to see whether that violated Hinsey's Fourth Amendment rights in terms of probable cause.
There was a hearing that was done that at that time the state prevailed on that the court ruled, and they overruled that.
Fox 13 News asked Gill what Hinsey's status is now and if he's a free man at this moment, something the DA did not have an answer to.
And that's why this matter of reporting and making sure that people feel comfortable reporting is a public health concern.
In downtown Salt Lake, Chris Arnold, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Going in depth tonight, we spoke with former federal judge Paul Cassell, who now teaches criminal law at the U, about the dismissed case.
This was a case in which the DA's office had filed charges and then took no action for 2 years to move the case forward. And so if we're looking for who's responsible for the delay here, the Utah Court of Appeals has said the Salt Lake DA's office is the one that's ultimately responsible for moving this case forward and failed to do so.
He says if the charges had been filed properly, it could have prevented the other crime from taking place.
After less than a year on the job, Provo Police Chief Fred Ross handed in his resignation over the weekend, effective immediately.
Provo Mayor Michelle Kafusi's office announced the news this morning and wasted no time installing an interim chief. Fox 13 News reporter Spencer Joseph has that story.
University Avenue. Walk sign is on to cross University.
Change is always a little hard. I want to make it as seamless a change for our employees as well as the community.
This is Captain, now Interim Chief Troy Beebe of the Provo Police Department. Today is his first day on the job after a surprise announcement from the former Chief Fred Ross of a sudden departure. In a short statement, Ross said, quote, "It had become evident that my fit within the Provo Police Department as the chief had been determined not to be sustainable. After discussing this with my family, I've determined it is in my best interest personally and professionally to resign my position as Chief of Police, effective immediately."
I have nothing negative to say about Chief Ross. He's a very good man, and I respect his decision.
Beebe says his first mission this morning was to speak with his fellow officers.
While meeting with them this morning, it was exciting. I've been with the police department for 24 years. Meeting with them is like meeting with good friends. They were accepting, and I truly do appreciate the opportunity to stand in front of them.
A sentiment echoed by Provo Mayor Michelle Kafusi, who said in part, in accepting Chief Ross's resignation, it became important to unify the department quickly. Now Chief Beebe says his highest priority will be the public.
I want them to know that we wear a badge, and the badge means public trust. In order to be a police officer, you need to interact with the community.
And he hopes the department will continue that priority moving forward under his leadership.
I want them to reach out to us if they need us, to know that we're here for them. I absolutely love the people here.
Captain Beebe, now Chief Beebe, has spent 29 years in law enforcement, 24 of them right here at the Provo Police Department, and he says those relationships he's built over that time are what's really going to help him in his new role. In Provo, Spencer Joseph, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Beginning today, Cache County residents can sign up to participate in the wood stove and fireplace conversion program. Low-income households can get up to $4,300 and others can receive up to $3,000. The program is to help homeowners convert their fireplace or wood stove into a natural gas or propane appliance.
Wood-burning emissions in the wintertime contribute a significant amount of pollutants into our atmosphere during our wintertime inversions. And so the grant is helping people pay for the conversion.
Cache County residents have until 10 p.m. tomorrow night to register.
Governor Cox says parents, educators, and lawmakers need to work together to protect children from the negative impacts of social media, what he wants to see happen.
And as we go to a break, let me just show you over the past 7 days where temperatures have been, mainly in the mid-70s. Previous week, we were in the 80s. How does this temperature line look as we go ahead? I'll let you know. Showing your 7-day forecast coming up later on in the newscast.
Just a friendly little reminder here to always stop for crossing guards. A Bountiful driver was caught on camera ignoring the stop sign. You got to take a look at this video Bountiful City Police posted today. So there's the crossing guard walking into the road, holding that stop sign, very plain to see.
Buddy, stop.
Okay, all right. I guess
Busted.
the red car didn't see the stop sign or the police car. Just driving right on through that intersection. That police officer was there, immediately pulls over the car. Now listen to this. I have to respect and admire this part. The driver took full accountability and gave permission for this video to be used to promote crosswalk safety. So the driver said, yes, absolutely. Sorry, I'm in the wrong. You know, I don't want other people to do the same thing because it may not have such a great outcome as this did.
Yeah. Well, that's good. That's good. Well, hey, enrollment is up at Utah's public universities. All four-year institutions saw a bump ranging from 0.57% at Weber State to 5.28% at Southern Utah University. Enrollment at Salt Lake Community College and Snow College, which are two-year institutions, was slightly down. Data on public technical colleges is expected to be released at the end of this month.
Still ahead, roughly a dozen cars were towed from the popular Diamond Fork Hot Springs over the weekend. Why Utah County officials say they had to do it. Plus, hear from someone who witnessed the ensuing chaos.
Could there be some defensive changes for the BYU football team? We'll hear from head coach Kalani Sitake coming up in sports. And the Jazz will start the season on Wednesday. We'll hear from Malik Beasley on facing his old team.
Well, tonight was the big debate in the U.S. Senate race between Republican incumbent Senator Mike Lee and independent challenger Evan Mcmullen. Now, earlier, we asked on Fox13Now.com whether the debate helped you with your Election Day vote. Here is where that poll stands as of right now. 29% of those who took part said tonight's debate did help them form an opinion on a candidate. 65% said they already knew who they will be voting for, and 4% of people said they are still undecided. If you would like to take part in this poll, you can find it on our website, fox13now.com.
This morning, Governor Spencer Cox laid out his ideas to better protect Utah's young people from the negative effects of social media. He talked to parents and teachers about how social media negatively affects teen mental health, social connections, and emotional well-being.
Government should not be the one to fix all of these problems. It needs to start with parents, educators, community leaders, and lawmakers working together to address these critical issues.
The governor quoted studies that say social media can lead to distractions, sleep disruption, bullying, and unrealistic views of other people's lives. He challenged parents to help their children find a balance to avoid those negative impacts. He also wants to ban cell phones from classrooms and make social media companies require parental controls.
Well, one of the many destinations in Utah that attract people, especially this time of year, is in Utah County.
But those crowds posed a potential danger for first responders over the weekend. Fox 13 News anchor Brian Schnee has that story.
The Diamond Fork Hot Springs lure people away from Highway 6, roughly 10 miles to a parking area.
It's very beautiful here. We had a good time. Glad we came back today.
Jennifer, who's in town for the BYU Arkansas football game this past weekend, tried to come up to the hot springs on Sunday.
And that's one thing my kids were scared to get towed yesterday. They kept talking about all the people getting towed.
According to the Utah County Sheriff's Office, almost a dozen cars in total were towed on Sunday.
Or let them start rolling.
And more than 40 were issued citations.
That's kind of where we draw the line. We don't like to come up here and just hang tickets on people's cars and impound cars. We recognize how inconvenient that is for people, but if a camper with a pickup and a trailer can't get through, then we know that EMS and ambulance and search and rescue wouldn't be able to get through if we needed to be up here.
One of the first things you see when you approach the winter gate here in Diamond Fork Canyon before the hot springs area is this sign that clearly illustrates you're not supposed to park anywhere on the roadway for the next 2 miles. There's even a reminder of your consequences if you do.
When you first got here yesterday, you almost literally wouldn't have been able to stand with your arms widespread like this without touching cars on both sides of the road.
On Sunday afternoon, the road wasn't passable at all while they were towing vehicles who made access impossible.
There were people up here who were delayed by 2 to 3 hours because the road was blocked and they couldn't get through. And it's not fair to do that to them.
One of them being Ann.
Just park correctly. Read the signs. It says no parking. There's probably like every 5 feet, there's a no parking sign.
If you come out, you hike up to the hot pots here, and you come out and your car is gone, then you've got a 10-mile hike to get back to Highway 6.
It's also an area that has virtually no cell reception. Fortunately for those that had their cars towed, we're told most are able to get a ride back into the Spanish Fork area. But it's a lesson by example for the sake of public safety and access to our great outdoors.
We recognize the inconvenience this is for people, but the signs clearly post where you can and can't park.
Hopefully it should be clear.
In Utah County, Brian Schnee, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Well, I think many Utah canyons have been high traffic areas over the past few weekends, of course, to enjoy all the fall colors, and we've had spectacular weather to go along with it. No different here today across the state, where we got up into the mid-70s in Salt Lake City. We had the sunshine. Right now it's clear. Current temperature in Salt Lake City, 60 degrees. So again, we looked at afternoon highs about 10 degrees above average. We're going to see a big drop in temperatures looking ahead. It's still going to take a few days, but we're really keeping our eye on a storm that arrives for the weekend. So as we take a look at our computer models with a focus on precipitation, first focusing on Salt Lake City, where you can see moving into the weekend, a high probability finally we see showers. And it looks like mainly we're going to see rain, but snow levels will be dropping, as we'll be talking about how far they'll go, especially as we look towards the weekend. As this storm is going to be pushing through a well-organized cold front that's going to have statewide impacts. Even across southern Utah, we see a chance of some scattered rain showers in the forecast, both as we look late Saturday into Sunday. So those are the changes on the way. What we have been experiencing so far for the first half of October, dominating weather feature has been this high pressure, which is beginning to move a little closer towards the Intermountain region, where we can see high pressure remains in effect moving ahead right throughout the state. However, we start breaking down this high pressure as we look towards the end of the week. Into the weekend, we see this dip in the jet stream. Cooler air coming in from the Pacific Northwest. It's going to grab the moisture, have a direct hit. Finally, the storm is not splitting up. So that's why I'm saying it's well organized. A sharp contrast in temperatures as it does push through. We're really going to kick up the winds, especially Friday into Saturday as it does push through, and cooler temperatures are definitely in the forecast. Tomorrow, though, it's going to be a repeat. We'll wake up, a lot of sunshine for your morning commute, no issues whatsoever weather-wise. Again, we don't have the concerns with winds here across northern Utah. As we'll look for tomorrow, almost exactly where we're at today. Here along the Wasatch Front, we'll be looking at low to mid-70s, even low 70s up in Cache Valley, 60s in Park City, central Utah, most spots in the mid to upper 70s, 80s in St. George, where for St. George, I mentioned that storm coming in full force here heading into the weekend. But until then, we'll be enjoying the low to mid 80s. A few clouds Wednesday and Thursday, no chance of rain. Friday, Saturday, we're still looking at that sunshine. We're looking at the winds picking up. I think Friday into Saturday gets a little dusty here because of those strong winds. Cold front hits. It takes some time to reach you, but we'll see that drop in temperatures, and we'll see a good chance of showers, especially on Sunday. Northern Utah, we're enjoying the 70s and enjoying while they last. So as we've been experiencing this nice weather, savor it as we'll see those changes coming. We know we're in October. We know we can see all types of weather. With this cold front, though, as it does, it's going to bring those winds, again, especially Friday into Saturday, kicking in Saturday afternoon. Front hits, we see a drop in temperatures as we get down to the low 50s, 30s for overnight lows, as we'll see showers early Sunday morning. Snow levels dropping down just above the benches, so we'll keep it away from the valleys, but definitely looking at bringing those temperatures down below average, especially as we look towards Sunday into next week. Until then, though, enjoy still this nice weather.
Utah football team's on a much-needed bye week after an emotional win against USC on Saturday night. Fox 13's Andrew Urban was with the team after today's practice.
Utah football moving up 5 spots in the AP poll from 20th to 15th after topping USC. A very impressive performance on both sides of the ball, so I had to ask, was there anything that surprised them on Saturday?
Just that we didn't flinch, we kept going. It doesn't matter the circumstances, the situation, the scoreboard, any of that things. We're just going to keep on playing ball and just let the rest handle itself.
No,
I think we showed exactly kind of who we are, the heart and determination we have. Cam used the term unwavering belief, and I think that he couldn't have said anything better.
Was there anything about your team on Saturday that surprised you?
No, nothing that surprised me. You know, we talked about playing with passion and energy, and that needed to be a focal point, and they brought the passion and the energy, and that was really a huge difference maker in that game.
I don't think that there's anything that surprised me. I've known this team for so long. I'm happy that what was shown on Saturday was able to be seen by the people here in Salt Lake City and especially in the nation. I think that tells a lot about our grittiness, our toughness, and the heart and passion that we have and the way that we wanted to represent Ty and Aaron.
With the Utes, Andrea Urban, Fox 13 Sports.
BYU is going through a tough stretch after losing 2 games in a row. Arkansas racked up 644 yards of total offense in their 52-35 win. Alani Satake was asked if he feels any pressure to make a change at defensive coordinator this week against Liberty.
When you're giving up that many points and that many yards, then there has to be, that's the level of accountability. There has to be pressure on all of us, and that's my job as head coach. I'm looking at all the different options that are out there. I think it's more important that we talk to our team first and talk to our players and communicate with them first before I mention that.
Well, the NBA season starts this week. The Utah Jazz hard at work today as they get ready to tip it off on Wednesday at home against the Denver Nuggets. It'll be an interesting season for the Jazz, that's for sure, with a new head coach and a bunch of new players, including Malik Beasley, who went through practice today and said his ankles feels better and he's ready to go against his old team.
It's always special to play for my team, but I don't care who's on that court. I don't care who's coaching. I don't care what they got going on. I'm worried about my team at the time. And, of course, I want to get the win. So those guys know how important me and Vandal want to get these first 2 wins of the season. I'm going to try to kill them in any way possible, whether, we get the win or not. So I'm looking to get the win. We got a fun team, so I'm excited to put it together and, get some wins.
Yeah, he's trying to kill them on the court.
Is that what he said?
And they'll be friends once the game's over.
Any way possible.
So the Jazz play Wednesday night at home, then Friday night they play in Minnesota.
Ooh.
Against Rudy Gobert.
Oh, no, you're kidding.
So it'll be a fun week.
Okay. Watch out, Rudy.
Yeah.
They're coming back for you. And that's where the kid from the trade.
Yeah, Malik Beasley just came
from
Denver. He played there to start his career.
Okay.
That's why.
We need a roster.
Yeah.
We need a
Yeah, we
printout
do.
on Fox13now.com of all the players and their names and position.
I have one. Yeah.
Seriously, let's put that up. Thanks, Jeff.
We'll be right back. Thanks for watching Fox 13 News at 9.
Quick Cast is up next.